Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts Matt, Steve, and Jeff. G'day, guys.
G'day. How are you, Jeff?
Good, mate. Oh, a bit of bling in the background at the moment. This is our 200th episode, which is really funny.
Woo! Is that what
It's
these are
amazing.
for?
It is going. Don't.
Oh,
Yep.
oh.
Go on to it.
Oh, shit.
Ow.
Oh,
Sorry, I did that right into the microphone. I probably made someone deaf. And there's smoke. We could have fire alarms.
Oh, jeez.
that is awesome.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
probably...
I love
That
the
was,
smell of those things.
That was.
I wonder what's going to happen to the sound.
Didn't we do that for our 100th or something?
I can't remember.
Oh, 1 million listens we went.
Yeah, that's right. But I think in terms of, we wanted to take a trip down memory lane because it's funny. We constantly come across people and they ask, how did you guys start? What sort of history? If you always landed on your feet, how much struggles have you have? And I was just saying to Matt before, I've actually forgotten and just sort of looking through some of the original emails that we had back from 2010 when we first met.
Yeah.
I've forgotten more than I can remember.
Yeah.
But there's some poignant moments in the company's history which I think some people are going to be interested in as far as a brand. I think, in terms of motivation, I think, there's some stuff there that people can take away from that. What we've learned, some of the stuff that's important to us.
A lot of what not to do.
What not to do.
Things.
And it's interesting. And you talk to a lot of people and I talk to and I sort of tell them stories and they love it. So it's like, we thought, well, I know this isn't particularly a scientific episode, but for those that are interested in the journey of the business, and we've had a moderate amount of success here in Australia. We're doing okay, and we're starting to expand internationally. It's kind of fun to look back nearly on a decade of being in business. So,
you might see a certain amount of success in it. We've been working so bloody hard. It's funny. I think I'm still driving around the odd Mazda. You still sold your house and haven't got a new one.
I've still got the same cars.
Yeah.
So. And people go, oh, yes, but you're driving a BMW. Yeah, I'm driving...
No, you bought that because when you had a successful business, you needed a tax deduction. You had a dodgy accountant suggested it, and you got stuck with the bloody things.
And I've still got the same car now. So my car, which I'm selling at the moment, which I've just about sold, which is good, is from 2009.
Yeah.
And I just bought a Hyundai i30.
Yeah, we're awesome cars too.
Well, they are great cars.
Wife's got a 100 it gets.
But the funny thing is, though, is that people go, oh, you're all about the money. It's like every single cent that we've got has gone back into the company.
Yeah.
And at the moment, so where we are at the moment, we've got, I think, we had 33 employees at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
We've got 43. We've hired 10 people in the last month. And that's where our money's going back into. Our money's going back into the company. It's going back into new product development.
So this facility here...
We've outgrown this facility.
When did we move in here? Was it last year?
It was 3 years ago.
3 years ago. See, there's a thing... There's also a couple of common themes are going to run through this episode. One of them is a thing called ATP time, where some things that were a week ago feel like a year ago, and other things that were like 3, 4, 5 years ago seriously feel like a couple of months.
Well, we are, when we first moved into this facility, and we're jumping ahead a bit, and we'll go right back to the start because that's fun. But when we first moved into this facility 3 years ago, I remember you, Tony, and I stood at the entrance, and Tony's gone, this is way bigger than what we're going to need. This is huge, right? Because that was the decision. The reason why we moved into this building, and again, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, is because we decided that we had to manufacture our own products. Fast forward 12 months, we had already outgrown this facility and we were hiring places across the road.
That's right,
Then we were going to take over the building next door to us, which would have more than doubled our footprint, because then we would have all manufacturing on one side, all warehouse distribution on the other side. But we decided we're going to bite the bullet, and we're actually going into a facility that's 5 times the size, which we're having custom built. We don't own it. We're leasing it. And it's been custom built for us, which is 5,000 square meters down at Meadowbrook, which is just going to be amazing.
Also Texas. So we're also building in the States. So,
in Texas as well.
So now, 2019, started 2019, we've got
we had to delay the
40-something
plans.
employees. We're about to expand into a facility 5 times the size for Australia. We're building into Texas.
And what we're doing in Texas is we've had to delay it. So what we've done is we were going to build. We couldn't find a property because they were all snaffled from underneath us. Like we literally were at the 11th hour about to sign. And because the US, God bless Trump, I'm just kidding. But, whether you like them or whether you hate them, their economy is absolutely booming, right? So it's almost impossible for us to find, suitable property over there. So we've had to stall and change and go to a 3PL.
It's amazing, isn't it?
But we're sending Mick over there.
Yeah.
Who, you know, Mick
Who's
started
Mick?
off with this. Mick started off with this as a sponsored athlete who has turned into being one of the most dependable, you know, guys. Just so loyal and just so great. And it's been amazing to work with him, because I said to him, what was your dream job? And he said, mate, I love the States. He'd been to the States like 23 times or 24 times. I said, what would be your dream? He goes, mate, to live in the States. So we actually found a way that both of us could have a win. So Mick's going over there to represent us over there.
And the funny thing is, the bloke who introduced us to Mick originally, ultimate dream was to be a sales rep in the States.
Oh, good things happen to good people, and you sow what you reap. So anyway,
well, let's go back. Let's do a thing.
Can I tell you what? When I was researching for this, of course, I just went on our website to start with, and I found a really interesting.
Could have asked us, but no.
Yeah, I know. But I thought, no, I've got to do mine. And I found a great summary here. On a cold winter's day, 2010, a graphic artist, scientist, and businessman walk into a coffee shop, and were never the same again. And I mentioned that to you guys a few minutes ago, and then there was a discussion about it.
There's even contention around that, because Matt reckons that we met in a restaurant. I remember this very, very clearly, because Matt came in, and I thought to myself, mate, and I say in the blurb, if anyone's been onto our website, like Matt looks like a front row forward, which actually I think you were number 8 playing rugby, but you're a front row forward in rugby league.
Well, they're both number 8, and that's how I end up being number 8 in rugby union, because I knew nothing about rugby union. And they said, what position do you play? So I know I wear number 8. It's my lucky number.
So I mean, but Matt's big, and I mean, obviously, you know, you've got an idea, Steve, and I've said this before, I'd expected him kind of look like you. Nerdy. Which, as opposed to Matt, who's devilishly good
handsome
looking, as he would say.
Well, there was an error on here. It says devilishly handsome too.
That's not an error.
And he made me leave that in.
I think my original business card, I was trying to get you right, eye candy.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen.
Did you see me say accidentally said ear candy?
Ear candy.
Man, that was a Freudian slip.
But anyway, how it all came about was that, Matt, why don't we start way back with just like a 2-minute summary of your history before we met?
Well, see, I was a naturopath. So, 96, I started practicing naturopath. But I was very frustrated because the products didn't work that very well. So I started becoming what I coined to myself as a compounding naturopath. So I started just buying raw materials and making my own stuff. But I was always interested in formulating and that. But one of the things that I was mucking around with from 1993, I started playing around with this concept of the fat cream, or the F cream. I'm not good at marketing, so it's called fat cream.
And then fat cream.
Well, some people were a bit offended that prescribed them fat cream, so I called it F cream, because I couldn't remember what it was going to be called otherwise. Oh, genius, really? Well, the man boob, the Block E3 that we got now was called moob cream. The man boobs, which also offended people. And I had a V cream for veins and a M cream, which is a magnesium.
I was looking at the original content. Some of them,
and the magnesium liniments everyone's doing now. That was my M cream, which is a muscle relaxant, but it was just magnesium.
And the other thing that we were talking about right from get go as well too, which is really funny. Do you remember what else? The initial products that we were talking about. Yep.
Yeah, I know.
One of the first, because obviously I started losing my hair just after I met, just before I met Matt, and that was
Matt caused it.
Well, no, I was only interested in myself. In fact, most of the time, these products are either for what I can use myself directly, or friends and family, or because I worked in this in a company called the Supplement Den, which sold many years ago. I wanted products that I could actually use for people that I knew, so I could actually see the result. So I was first cab off the rank.
Yeah, so I'm mucking around making these things. I'll never forget the time the wife and I discovered the Curcium. So we had the fat creams, and they were working really well. And we used to blend them all up in a bucket on the sink and then experiment them. One day we found that paper on the Curcium that they did on the rats that showed really good fat loss. And I managed to get the exact material used in the studies, brought it in, and the wife and I mixed it up and we started rubbing it in. And I lost like 23 centimetres off my gut in 6 weeks. I remember that. Now, I was trying to get the details off the wife, what she lost, but regardless, it was more than me, is the conclusion. She said she won that competition without having any details or facts here, but just more than me, whatever it was. Infinity plus one, I think she said.
Yes.
So basically we made those creams, and then I was working, doing formulating for other companies. But I'll never forget, one of the last times I formulated for another company was when they called me into this room and showed me the Google keyword report and said, people with arthritis want to use glucosamine and one of these things. Can you mix all of these things together, create a product? It was so dodgy. I was like, man, I can't do this. And then the other one, they made me see the commercials, all the branding, all the marketing. Said, can you make something that does what we've written in the commercials, please? And so that was what the industry was doing. At the same time, I was making these creams and working with microcurrent machines, and that's when the naturopath that was your mate
that's
told you about that cream that I had.
Yeah.
And so basically we got introduced through that naturopath that wanted to make these creams for the naturopath clinic, and then it led in. That's where that meeting happened.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there talking about cosmetics, and then we decided to make a range of cosmetics. You decided that TDI, Transdermal Industries fat cream, is probably a crappy marketing and name. So, what was yours? Because do we want to tell people? Lasab, which was now the
basil backwards.
Basil backwards.
And we put two little dots over the eye, and it wasn't that sophisticated, but it has a nice
Liberation cream was actually
Liberation
much
cream,
better idea because it was
Lasab Liberation
fat relocation.
But it was but the whole thing came about it, and this is one of the first con men of many. And I say that because when I actually
you were pointing at me when you said that.
No. We will change people's names to protect their identities. And the funny thing is as I go through this as well too, is that I honestly have got to say that I've forgiven all of these people.
Oh, yeah.
Simply because my father always used to say to me, and this comes down to a lot of personal belief as well too, is that nothing good comes out of negative emotion. Like you can't go forward looking sideways or backwards because you're going to crash into a ditch. And it's funny because I've done a lot of self-development. Some of it's from Christian ethos, but I also went to another thing called, what's that weird thing that I went to that was cult-like?
Red Day.
No, that was awesome. A lot of people...
Jubilee?
Oh, no. That was a network marketing company. No, it was this thing where you basically, it's a lot of self-reflection, and then a great comment came out of that, and it says, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah.
Now, I get pissed off and angry, and I'm human like everybody else, of course. More humans than human.
More human than human.
Do you know that song?
No, I don't know that song. What song is it?
White Zombie. Is that right? Zombie? Anyway, so what it come down to though is that
sing a bit.
No, it's like heavy metal rock. It's like it's like death metal almost. But what it came down to though is that I took that on board, and it's true, because if you're consistently living with somebody else, in your mind, they're in your head. Yeah. And they're going to affect you. And how can you create anything good? How can you do anything? And Matt's ethos and philosophy, when we first met, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, first do no harm.
Yeah, exactly.
And mine was, to get where you want to get in life, you have to help as many people to get what they want in life. And it's all positive.
But everything's yin and yang, and every action has equal opposite reaction. When you're really working really hard with all your motives to do something good and right, you're going to attract evil people. It's just... That's the seems to be a bit of a pattern that they're trying to bring you back to the middle somewhere.
I think a lot of people got a sense that we had some really cool stuff. And talking with Matt, I got really excited because I could see the formulations, I could see the science, which is why we've got several patents now.
Yes.
And the company has grown so quickly. There's a lot of things now that we're going back that I think a lot of people demanded of us back then, such as clinical trials, such as, which we're working with now with some really cool companies.
We can talk about
stuff
that later.
Future stuff. But the nice thing is that everything that Matt did was fully referenced as far as, all of the journals that we brought out, had pages and pages of reference, Matt. I think Subcut was it 64 references?
Yeah, we had a 70-something page document that we used just to explain the science behind it.
Which was still available, which was still got.
Still got there.
And the interesting thing is that we have to be careful that we don't put that out, because then that's considered to be, claims.
So how weird was it though? Because I didn't want to do naturopath clinics anymore. I was just sick of that sickness industry, and I was more interested in the formulating. But met you guys, and we started making the fat creams, the moob creams, the other cosmetic ranges. We made a batch of something for your hair, and your hair grew back.
Mate, it did.
I
got pimples all over the top of my head, and he never improved the formula since that bloody first time. Even though now, and Steve, you've been a part of it.
Yes.
How long have we been working on the new formula, which is... It craps all over the old formula.
Well, yeah, it's going to.
You've never even used the new formula yet. And you're saying it craps all over my old formula that grew your hair back.
This is the
sort of 10 years. This is the sort of stuff I've had to deal with.
It improved it to a point, and then it maintained Matt. And not only that, the stuff I'm using now, Matt, you made years ago.
Oh yeah, I know. It's probably rotten.
Because do you know what? Because he's not losing his hair.
I'm fine.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
But
it's not a priority.
And Steve and I, because
we're a little thin.
Yeah, a little thin, right? But anyway, so it came
Camera
down.
angles.
Yeah. Anyway.
No. So they've been doing those creams, and then I'll never forget there was a tipping point, because we could see that we were doing a lot of work and we're doing this stuff, and the devil in blue pants was doing bugger all, and then basically tricked you out of about 90K. But then what was really funny, and then I went into your shop one day, and I'm wandering around just looking at the stuff, and you asked me to do a staff training.
That's right.
And I said, well, not if you're running a successful business. I wouldn't, because if you're already selling this shit, you don't want to know. And then I basically went through and said, look, this stuff is good. I said, it's capable of being good. You've got, went through and did a training and said, look, this ingredient shouldn't be here. This ingredient needs to be double the dose. That ingredient needs to be half the dose. Then you're capable of making a product that works. And then we got talking about it. And then we were having a few dramas with that other cosmetic side of the business.
Yep.
And then, remember, I never forget, you asked me one day, you said, what's your level of excitement for making cosmetics? And I said, like 1%.
Because
something like
that. Because the clinic that we had was really based on sports injuries, but I thought there was a fantastic application for microcurrent in the beauty industry. Cellulite, removing wrinkles, all that sort of stuff. And I love the technology. Anyway,
and then we just, well, what would be you're interested in making these sports supplements work? And that's where I said, well, that's a hell of a lot more fun, So that's when we started talking about that, and then going, well, we can still make the Lasab liberation creams and the fat creams and the moob creams as body sculpting creams, body shaping creams for the comps, and we decided to go down there. But we both had gone through a phase where I was extremely frustrated in the naturopath stuff was restricted by the products that were available. You were doing fine with business, but you were still disappointed that the products weren't giving the results that the brochures were saying they should, and things like that. And even more disappointing when you see that these products capable of being made properly if they just stopped doing Google keyword searching.
Well, there was such a lack of innovation. I think the newest thing that had come out, which was category defining, was No Explode, and I think it's before that it was actually a product called Shotgun, and they were a new kind of a category, and they were cool. I mean, to this day, pre-workouts are a core staple for many people training because they get that energy and they feel that they can train harder at the gym, right? But there was there was so little innovation, and when there was stuff that would come out that was it just sort of fell flat. There didn't really seem to be much progression.
Because what amazed me was you guys started with creams. If the average person in the health industry was starting with creams, I don't know how they go. You should start with a SuperStim Pre, a whey protein, branch chains, three of those
and
three
is that
products.
Based on market research? Because that's what they sell in the shop every day, and every week they tell them why. It was your business genius that said go this way.
No, we wanted to provide. Well, and the thing is that as Henry Ford would say, if you ask people what they want before the car was built, they just go a bigger, faster horse. Right? It's like, no, we want to change things completely. Like creatine, when that came to the market, that was novel and new. So creating the creams was actually something that worked. And as I said to Matt about fat loss or what have you, I didn't say go and create a pill. I just said, mate, this is the target that we need.
Well, what Jeff also explained, he'd been in the supplement industry for a decade at that point, wasn't it?
So 2002 I started.
And
May
he had
2002.
interesting stats and showed that through every week he sold a certain amount of protein and a certain amount of pre-workout, and as he marketed more, he'd sell a bit more and that sort of stuff. But then if he could get a product with better margins, then he would swap that protein for another protein. What he basically said is there's
so long as it was still quality.
Yeah, so the business, what you'll see is the business got to a point where protein and pre-workout was making a certain amount of money. If we were to go to these stores and say, here, take our protein and pre-workout, the only way of getting that shelf space was to make a cheaper product and compete that way, hey? And that's the only, but what would that do? That wouldn't increase the revenue in the business. All it would basically do, maybe improve their profit margins if we could sell it cheap enough for that particular month. And there was also at the time, the history for pre-workout was 3 batches over 9 months, and then you may as well forget it because everyone's moved on to something else new with
the life cycle
margins.
Then is almost like technology. It was a little bit longer back then. I think No Explode was probably top of the pops, Steve. So I can speak your language, so you understand the old man.
Top of the tops.
Yeah, right.
But what we did different is really important that people understand this. This is the most important part, I believe, in where ATP. What we had to do is we realised the sports market was protein and pre-workout. And then we realised that the people that were those same people living on protein and pre-workouts they're buying from the supplement stores were going to health food stores to buy general wellness stuff and going to the pharmacies to buy the sickness stuff. So we realized that if we could create other products that people can use as add-on sales to their proteins and pre-workout, we might get some shelf space as one thing, but we create a new category and new types of people going into the supplement stores. Remember every store we went to initially asked them to stock our products. They're saying, well, no one's coming in asking for it. Why would we? So we're going, okay, so that's our goal. We're going to market to the consumer, educate the consumer. We're going to tell them to go in and ask for it. But the thing is, well, there's no point them switching us over to another protein. So what we did is we created the wellness category in the sports industry. So we went through and did the creams, the cosmetics, the add-on sales, and then we went general health, general wellness, and expanding athletes to make them healthier. And that created a whole new category which makes the stores increase their revenue, create new shelf space on top of their protein and pre-workout.
Have you heard of Lee Iacocca? Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
Lee Iacocca invented the Mustang. He basically invented the Mustang car because he was very wise. He looked at demographics and he actually positioned himself in front of the baby boomers. So he recognized that the blue jeans and those cars, when they left university, that they would want to buy a fast car that was affordable, right? Really smart. Yeah. He also did another hit with the Winnebago.
Right.
Because he then bought that out as they were aging and retiring and, getting rid of the fast car. Being positioned in time ahead of a paradigm shift, if you like, is really important. And that's fortunately where, Matt and I got with ATP Science. We recognised that there was a thirst. Look, and we love the bodybuilders and the performance and the elite athletes. I mean, and to tell you the truth, I love working with them the most because you can actually... Well, I shouldn't say the most, but I love working with them because you can see small changes make a huge impact and, they can come back and they measure everything and you can see what's happening. But... the term that's coined now is what they call the everyday athlete. There was a lot of people that were coming in. Yeah, they wanted to lose body fat. Yeah, they wanted to put on a little bit more muscle, but they also were becoming far more interested in their health long term as well too. So they were interested in nothing artificial. They were interested in removing things like ACE K out of sweeteners and that sort of stuff. They were interested in putting things into their body that were not only going to help them to achieve the results that they want, but also long term going to make them healthy. And that's, I guess, where we kind of fit. Releasing creams and a very expensive electrolyte formula that everybody can...
With no stims.
With no stims.
Full of sugar.
Full of sugar that was compared to a product that was less than half the price. People are like going...
You guys are insane.
Yeah, you're not going to work. So anyway, coming back to that, we had a problem. Because I owned at that stage the supplement den. The supplement den was really successful. It was doing about $500,000 a month online through its website and about $250,000 through the door on a single store. So we were one of the bigger players in the market at that time. We're talking back 2009, 2000, around about the 2010.
So just to go back to 2009, you were in a fairly comfortable, you've got kids, you've got a wife, you've got a comfortable career. Why would you change and jeopardise all that?
I get bored. And that's true. Like, I worked in project
when you realised because you're passionate about helping people. Like you're saying, you help people.
You get where you want to go. Zig Ziglar, as I said, that's it. And I was getting frustrated with that industry, bored with that industry, and I didn't feel like it was making as much impact as it should. But so we looked at selling the business, and two critical things really screwed us, which kind of plays into the ATP story as well too. The first thing, so the business went from doing about $750,000 a month, and we then changed our website, and this is where I made probably one of the biggest mistakes ever, was changing to a company, because originally way back when I custom built in 2002, 2003, I custom built a website with a company that's no longer in business, and this is before the websites that they use today. I can't even think what
the ones online.
Yeah, they're custom built.
WordPress
Magento
and sort of things.
Magento is really good, but there's, I forget, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, there's a few.
No, not WordPress. But anyway, so what it came down to is that I custom built this, which was really good. And then at the time when we built it, the customer service standard in the industry was terrible. It would take days to receive the order. There was no mentioning about, how long it was going to take. There was no tracking numbers. Oftentimes you'd get your order and they'd swap in a product. These were the common complaints that I was hearing. So we made an unbelievable website, unbelievable tracking, which I had built this, and I had it, that they could not sell it to anybody else in the supplement industry. Sold it to another company, which became my main rival during that 2000 period. And I had no ill to him. He didn't do the wrong thing, but the company that built the software did. Right. And he's still a major player in the industry and done extremely well from it because he was using my bloody proprietary software. Yes. Anyway, so long story short.
Then you went to, was Adobe? You can mention those, wasn't it?
No,
Adobe
we went to
platform
Adobe. We went to Adobe, which was really bad.
Remember at the end, they basically said they wanted you to do a testimonial for them, and they wrote this big report about how they changed your life and made it wonderful.
Yeah,
and said, "Can we tell people that?" No.
To cut a long story short, when we changed to this other platforms, and again, this is my problem because there wasn't enough, testing done on the site, and they did it while I was overseas as well too, and I said it had to be done December 15, and they did it January 15. So best possible time is that period over Christmas, which is normally a little bit slower, so traffic's down. Anyway, they launched it. Sales went from $500,000 a month down to $100,000 a month online over the next 6 months. And at the same time, I also had people, a whole family of people that I employed in my business that were robbing me blind as well too, because I was not paying attention.
That file of the Logan Police have still got that $170,000 worth of
all articulated
stuff to
beautifully.
Chase up. If only they had some money to take back off.
They don't care. They did not care. And at the time as well
they're more interested in about the cyberbullying attacks on Facebook after that.
I know.
That's what they wanted to. Oh, now we can talk. We're interested in cyberbullying. We'll go for that.
Anyway, so the business was, we were looking to sell the business around that time and set up a franchise as well too.
Before you get to the franchise bit, before that, we had to decide who's going to be the face of ATP to go out there and sell this stuff, because we never wanted it to be a supplement den home brand.
No,
we had bigger ambitions.
He wanted to get out of
he wanted to move out of that, transition into making products that work, and so we're sitting there going, who do we have? The most hated competitor as the face of ATP, or do we have the fat naturopath as the face of ATP?
He's got no sport, no bodybuilding, no nothing.
No, and no contacts within the industry or anything like that. And then there was another guy that was available as a sales guy that did the talk and had lots of contacts and all that sort of stuff, that we thought, we can put you up as the face of company, and that, who then we just created a monster because he went out and told everyone it was his company and his inventions until people asked details and he had no idea about the ingredients or anything. Yeah. But yeah, that's an interesting thing, eh?
Well, and the thing was, the supplement den at that time was independently valued at $1.8 million, which is obviously what we're going to sell it for.
Yes.
This has all started to crumble. Tony didn't. She wanted to make sure that obviously we had that cash flow and all the rest of it as we started.
Because this face of ATP ended up being the demise of the supplement den.
Well,
part demise of the supplement den, along with the opportunity to franchise with another consultant. We pronounce consultants consultant many times.
Yeah, I never used it.
And sold to an unscrupulous bastard who then took that franchise. I remember I was sitting out the back, and this is when all this stuff was all going down, and I remember I was sitting there and they had called a meeting, and I'm sitting in my back office, and he's like, yep, we're going to have a meeting on Wednesday. I'm like, great, can you send through an agenda, so I compare, and this is after they come up and they hug you. And
I was about to say, this was all the hugs and kisses.
We're family now, we're in this together. And I said, great, look, work with you. We can obviously work on this franchise and, look to obviously sell that franchise off and improve the money so that we can, obviously I could exit and then focus on ATP.
Yeah.
And turned up, 2 Audis drove up in front of my shop. I remember this, and I thought, who the hell? They get out, all these suits get out, come through, basically put a contract in front and said, look, there are errors in this contract. We're going to sue your ass unless you effectively sign over to this shop to us now. And it's like, oh my gosh.
So that cost you $90,000 as well to create that contract, didn't it?
No.
And then you had to give away your shop?
It was about 40 or something like that. And the amount of time and effort, and also with this as well too. But the long story is that Tony and I went from a great position with a great business with a lot of income. The only money that we put into ATP was $60,000, and then it all started just to slide off the face of a cliff. And I remember by probably about 12 months later, about 18 months later, and when it all just blew apart, Tony and I were effectively looking at bankruptcy papers, and we thought we were going to have to close down ATP Science, because you can't be the director of a company if you declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's right.
So it all went to hell in a handbasket over a
there was so much
period.
around that same. So
Oh, don't forget about the independent distributors that we set up, because I couldn't be the face of the company, right?
Yeah, that's right. Then we went for distributors, and then these distributors
are not in business anymore.
They're not in business, thank goodness. But so anyway, so then we offloaded to a distributor so they could go out and represent our brand instead of it being one of us. And then those distributors had there was another famous person that was potentially going to do a brand sometime in the future that they wanted exclusive distribution rights. So they pretty much invested a certain amount of money to buy the product off us and stick it in the back corner of the shed and not sell it to anyone. And when someone asked about our products, because we were sending people into the stores, whenever someone asked about our products, they basically would say, we'd never heard of them, don't know anything about them, but I tell you what's better is this. And so and it was... They were pushing a beauty bum or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, because
we had a fat burning cream.
Jay Cutler had a brand coming out. This has nothing to do with Beauty Bum or Jay Cutler, by the way.
No,
but they were. Well, he had a brand coming out. I forget what it was called. Was that Elf?
Don't know. But they were basically they believed it was a good enough business plan to invest some money into shutting us down to make that space for someone else to take. And it was just evil. We're having all these reports going back on that sales rep you told me to call about your products reckons he's never heard of your products, and he says we should be using this instead. And it was like, oh my gosh. So then we had to take that back as well. I totally forgot about those distributors.
When we first started as well too, the whole idea was that we were going to outsource everything. That it was just going to be, because I mean, I think at the supplement den we had like 12 employees at one stage, and having employees, I mean, again, it's one bitten twice shy, but employees do give you a concern, you know. I mean, they've got lives, they've got family, you know, they're sick, and you know they're leaving for another job, but whatever, right? So Matt and I said, right, we're going to outsource everything. It's just going to be, you know, Tony doing, you know, branding and marketing. It's going to be Matt doing formulations, and I'm obviously going to oversee the business as the general manager, work on sales, you know, what we need to do.
Yeah, we're going to do nothing.
And so we thought, right, we're going to contract out our manufacturing, which is another.
Oh, I've got notes about it. Man, that's
and we're going to outsource our distribution. The distribution company was terrible.
That was the first thing we took back.
So we took that back. And we thought, right, we're gonna do it ourselves.
But that's when we had this face of ATP going out there as the distributor. You know, or like as our salesperson.
Is that the Devils in the Blue Pants?
No, he's gone by now. The Devil in Blue Pants has moved on.
Matt and I were counting the other day, and we counted 17. Yeah. 17 people that have in some version tried to rip us off.
But don't forget, so this other guy, well, let's nickname him the Rocky Lover. Let me explain a little bit about that theory of mine. I've seen a little pattern. Now, I love Rocky movies, okay? And when it comes to like wanting to go to the gym, Eye of the Tiger and running upstairs, that's inspiring me to work hard and train hard and get punched in the face and get up and do it again.
Sure.
But as far as business advice goes, I don't think Rocky should be your idol when it comes to business. For example, get punched in the face, fall over, get up, get punched in the face. That's how winning's done. Fall over, do it again. That's not how winning's done. That's how getting punched in the face and falling over's done.
You're taking it about legit.
No, but
he lost all his money too, numerous times.
Well, the whole time he started off as a bum, but he had that imagination in his mind. He had already set where his place in life was. He was always going to be a bum. This is the Rocky story. I think Sylvester Stallone's fantastic, and I love the movies. I'm not saying that, but as far as entrepreneurial advice and the memes associated with the hustle and the grind and just keep pushing and just keep doing the same thing all the time, expecting a different result.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, so it's just this basic thing of get up, do this, get knocked over, get up, do this. What happens? It creates the nature of the beast. It creates you as a pattern. If you truly believe in your mind you're a bum, that's where you're going to end up. And that's my whole thing with that Rocky, the whole... Whenever I see these people that use Rocky quotes in regards to business, I'm sitting there thinking, haven't you watched Rocky 4, 5, and 6 where he's still a bum? Like it's like he never achieved any of those things. So anyway, that's all. And then that was a big thing. It was a constant Rocky quotes coming out of that person, and it was just like, and then did exactly that. Just kept doing the same thing. Still probably doing the same thing. I wouldn't know.
And on the flip side of that, I like the Rocky.
But what did he do? He introduced us to Mick Galley, and Mick Galley, with good ethics and good person and a good egg, ended up getting the dream that guy ever always wanted by just being a good egg and a good person and just trying to be to help people, you know, fit in with our ethos so much better. So that that sort of thing happened.
I remember at that point in time as well too, Matt, when all this was going down and you left and, you took over sales, the business was making, I think, $20,000 a month for that sales, which might sound like a lot, but I think the overheads at the company at that time were around double that.
Yeah.
Right? So we were going backwards in a hurry. I had no money left. I was basically...
I never had any money to start with.
But you spoke about capital. You have a unique way of raising capital, I hear.
Well, hang on. Don't jump ahead, Steve.
Oh, is that ahead? I thought
no, that's well ahead. Because let me tell you. So we took over distribution. We put that guy in to try to head up distribution. He then went and found out that he was a criminal, was horrible, did all that stuff, went on a Facebook slander, contacted all the accounts that he had made and signed up to say we're evil bastards and stole it all off him. I then, as a fool, went out, all these people were making death threats all over social media, so I made a list of all the people that wanted to kill us, and I went and visited them and introduced myself. But at the same time, we were collecting orders from people for stock, and we were working with contract manufacturers. So we had... Remember, now, now this is interesting. So right at the start, I said I used to make this fat cream and everything. But anyway, so I had made friends with a compounding chemist, and we were running some other businesses together, some, drop shipping, pharmacy, online sort of stuff, and that had built up decent. And my wife was kind of running that, and the wife was also trying to make up these creams, and we needed to scale up. So we contracted the compounding chemist to help us formulate some bases that we could then scale up, and we're actually using them at a certain stage to make some of the creams in a small scale for us to just perfect and that sort of stuff. He then got so greedy that he would try to cut us out and make an extra $10 here and there, cutting us out to sell the creams or trying to sell it on the side, doing all this dodgy stuff, and eventually had enough on that. But my wife, there's so much this is overlapping. Trying to get the timeline right.
It's ATP time. I was just thinking that.
But the bloke, so this compounding chemist, he went and lied. So when we got the recipes for the creams, he totally lied. For example, there were certain ingredients in there specifically cannot heat beyond 60 degrees, or they turn to something else. And then we get the recipe. Step number 1. Take that ingredient and heat it beyond 70 degrees.
To melting point, yeah.
And it's just like, and that's how I set my foot on fire.
I remember.
Because I had to heat that stuff up, and I had already just sterilized everything with ethanol and spilt some on my foot. And then I had to light up this thing, and then the ethanol on my foot caught on fire. But that was because
tell us about the fire.
No, this fella had lied so much on the recipe. By this stage, we were trying to fill orders for these creams that we'd pre-sold to a certain degree. So we're sitting there with this big 150-litre vat, and with all of our money in that was like $30,000 worth of ingredients. We pretty much all of our money was in this bucket, and we're just shit.
I remember, and you had to leave it overnight, and we came back, and I remember sweating bullets.
Yeah, so
coming in, going.
It was at 2 o'clock at night on a Saturday, 2 in the morning on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And my foot caught on fire in the back of this thing. And we got those big old roller doors, the slow one. So I'm running at the roller door, press the button, and dive rolling under it as it's just opening enough for me to get.
And Matt's completely in a white suit, with
goggles
face
and
goggles,
everything.
And all the rest of it, right?
And then I
Does
come
it sound
out.
Like anything?
I roll out,
Yes.
My foot on
Breaking
fire,
Bad?
all this smoke billowing out behind me, coming out of the factory behind me as I'm rolling into the car park. Just as the neighbours had a group of cleaners turn up to clean the building next door, and I've just come out on fire dressed up like Breaking Bad, and these guys are going, we saw nothing. They get back in the car and try to buy, and I'm chasing them going, no, it's okay.
And they couldn't get out because the gate shut, so they had to jump out and push the security code in to get out the sliding gate.
Lucky I'm a slow rider. And they were freaking, they're like, and then we'll say nothing, we saw nothing, we said nothing. Next morning, first thing, the landlord's over, what are you guys doing here?
He said something. You guys are good boys, but he goes, I have to know, what are you guys doing in there, right?
And then remember that, and then we come back and it was finally good, and then that Sunday we're like, oh thank gosh, we resurrected on Sunday, spending all day there stirring it to try to emulsify it properly.
So this was in a massive big vat, like a massive big stainless steel vat that, pressure lids and all the rest of it to keep everything sealed.
Finally we got this thing worked. It's all beautiful, everything's working, we're so happy. And then we come in Monday morning, and then Grant,
a new high. Great.
He was our new employee,
national sales
probably
manager.
our first guy, one of our first, definitely our first sales employee. And he came in and sticks his finger in it and says, what's this?
Opens it up and goes, what's that?
Sticks his ugly head in there.
Did he have a glove on? Or?
No. Why would he have a glove? This is Grant. And we had to train that to him later. But he sticks his hand, and we're just like, so anyway, But don't forget, at the same time is that same idiot compounding chemist whose dream was to manufacture and be a manufacturer for a big company like ATP. We gave him everything he ever wanted. We then gave him an order for 5,000 T432 capsules to make, and we'd pre-sold 2,500 of them. So we gave him all the raw materials.
We got a new product, and it was exciting, and it was a fat burner, which was probably the first, how would you say, as far as I was concerned, probably the first real commercially successful product that we could have, something that we could really get into the marketplace, right?
Yeah. And so we pre-sold all this sort of stuff. We gave him all our raw materials. He gave us a certain lead time. Like when that lead time was up, he contacted us and said he's changed his mind. He's not going to take the job. He's making raspberry ketones for China because Dr. Oz said it was good.
That's right.
And then he said, come and pick up your shit. I made 23 bottles for you.
Matt, he actually drove up and delivered it and said, sorry, I haven't had time to do it.
I had to go in and get it. I had to go and collect it. No, I was collecting it. Remember, I was going through his room, and that's when I worked out that I'd lost over 20% of the materials, just throwing shit everywhere. So we'd lost all this material. We had all these pre-orders, and then we had to quickly go back, get a food license. We just had an office with a shed. We had to go get that food license, put a shipping container in there. So we modified a shipping container, got a food license. Oh no, before that was the office.
No,
we modified the office.
We had a
hand press,
tiled floor. So and
300 capsules every 20 minutes I could hand press, and I was making these things by hand. Jeff was there with a tennis racket, or initially we had a Coke bottle thing cut that we could turn to fuddle
by weight,
and we counting all these capsules. So we're trying to make this stuff by hand. We could do 300 capsules every 20 minutes, and we need there's 120 caps per bottle.
Yes.
So we're getting 2.5 bottles every 20 minutes, and we're just sitting there hand pressing these things, and then making the creams at night and all that sort of stuff, and trying to package those and hand filling everything. I never forget once we were running low. We had to fill that prototype order, and we couldn't wait for them to cut the tubes for the pump. We couldn't wait for them to do that, or cover the costs of the extra service to cut them to length. So Jeff decided that he had 5,000 of them and a ruler and a Stanley knife, and he's sitting there trying to cut these tubes. And oh man, it was crazy. And we were even filling it. Remember that Jeff had forearms like Popeye, because at one stage we were filling the tubes with a
syringe.
Sheep dip thing.
No, we firstly started off with syringes to fill it. And the funny thing is that we actually got a little container, and Grant, who fortunately actually knew how to lay flooring, put down industrial vinyl.
Yeah.
So we had a little refrigerated container that we actually then hooked
started
up to
capsuling,
the power, and everything was done inside there.
Yeah. But we were making, so we were
originally filling it with syringes, and then I got the great idea, hang on, I'll use a sheep drenching gun. So I went down to the animal farm thing, and we got this sheep drenching gun.
So we're doing all that. So we're doing all that during whenever we can. We're then doing all these seminars at night, because we had no money. And tell you we'll talk about the books later, but we had no money at all. So basically we were doing the labour, we were doing every part of it. We were then trying to drum up sales and visiting people, allocating time for that, and then doing all these free seminars and everything at night, because we had no other way of marketing. And we had to build up a bit of credibility, and because what we're talking about was a little bit different to what everyone else was. It took a little bit more education. We did everything the hard way, but if we did it any other way, it would have worked. But so what's interesting about that compounding chemist guy, he screwed us over with the T432, also screwed us over with those creams. But on the other side, that different to ATP, I had the confidence, I had the ability to actually do ATP, because I had also had other businesses running that were finally paying enough money with this particular bloke to pay my wife. So my wife and I had been trying to have babies. We're talking about having babies, but we just had no financial security. We wanted to start a family, all that sort of stuff. We tried for about a year. I made Alpha Venus and Alpha Mars to help us to have a baby. And we had our baby, Alfie. Now,
Alpha Mars.
Alpha Venus, Alpha Mars, we had our baby, Alfie. He's the first alpha baby. Now, what's freaky about that is, while we only had the confidence to do that because the wife was starting to get income from this other business, while she was in labour, that same bloke sent a text message to her saying he quits. Someone spoke to him with disrespect somewhere, and he quits. So there's no income for this. He just quit.
That's it. The business is gone.
Yeah, and then he lied on the other recipes, and then he screwed us over the T432 plus. He still tries to talk to me for some stupid reason.
Yeah. Wow.
So can you imagine at the same time as well too, we were getting a little bit of traction with infrared, which was originally going to be called Outlast, and I'd registered the name and then I let it lapse. And anyway, so and Matt wanted to call it Red Dog.
I thought it was great, but then I saw the movie and cried, and I just
Red Dog, the movie.
He wanted to call infrared Red Dog, right?
That's
anyway.
a great name.
I
still think it's a great name, but we were stuck with red flavors.
What we did is while we were doing all this as well too, and in the background, we sent off the product to manufacture in the US. And not only did they manage to manufacture the infrared for us, but they also manufactured our first pre-workout called Limitless as well too, right? Anyway, so what happened during this time, and this is where it gets really curly, and this is when we just about died. Actually, this is the time.
So all these things overlap, all happening at once. Hey?
Well, at this point, this is just before we started manufacturing ourselves. We had $7,000 in the bank, and the people that were doing the encapsulation for the T432 said, no, we're not doing it. We had $7,000 in the bank, and we went, what the hell are we going to do? So you rang up the local council and said, hey, look, if I set up an area and is this going to be okay? Yes, fine. So we rang up Capsule Gel and we said, who can we use? Do you know anyone who can do some contract manufacturing? They're like, no, you're far too small. You don't have enough money. You're not going to be able to do it. But we do have a hand press that you can buy, which is $6,500. So we took all of the company's money and bought this hand press, which we got delivered in a pretty quick time. And over the Christmas period, Matt and I were sitting there actually effectively keeping our company alive. We didn't do it. At the same time, we got our infrared batch in, which was a big investment.
9 months late.
9 months late, $30,000, which $60,000, $60,000, right? It was everything was tied up in these two products, if that makes sense, and that's why we were strung out so low with our finances. And I've got down there and I've opened it up and I've gone, oh, thank God, it looked amazing, right? Opened it up, smelt it, and immediately smelled something really strange.
Then you rang me up,
and I said, and no. Then I took one and I shook it up and I tasted it. Within a few minutes, I got a really bad headache. And I never get headaches, like never ever. And I rang Matt up and I said, Matt, you better get up here. Matt comes straight up.
No, I just said, before I do, run your finger on the inside of the lid and see what happened. And he's going, oh man, it's all mong. What happened is they heated the top. They heated the top of with the convection just to seal the tamper evident seal. They used too much heat, enough heat to actually melt the plastic, which all dripped into the product, but was sealed under the safety seal. So all those gas and all those fumes, as well as the big chunks of plastic, were all in the product. So Jeff, we contacted the contract manufacturers, and they, in America, they suggested that we ship it back to them. So that way they could
it.
They were going to filter out the plastic and then just aerate it to get rid of some of the smell. But unfortunately, as you know, the formaldehyde, acetaldehyde is still going to be there.
It's going to be there.
Yeah, so... And then that was a big challenge for us.
Well,
challenge. What happened?
What happened was...
that's interesting. We actually...
Do you remember that took months? So backwards and forwards for months and months and months and months. If they did not refund us the $60,000, we were gone.
Yeah.
I don't know how to this day. I think it's answered prayer. They actually refunded us.
They did. Yeah. And what's funny, the owners were in jail or something as well, weren't they?
Wow. There was no...
And all their funds were...
If they hadn't refunded us, we were weak. We couldn't have done anything. But back then we couldn't do a damn thing, right? So,
and around the same time, we get a call from Queensland Health. The Queensland Health discovered pseudoephedrine in the product. And we said, you can have the product. We don't typically sell pseudo. We were going to discontinue it anyway.
Because it wasn't working as intended. That was where we knew something was up.
Now, pseudoephedrine is a cold and flu remedy that does stimulate you, just so people know.
Well, the funny thing is, the whole pre-workout industry is based on ECA stack, which is ephedrine, caffeine, aspirins. Remember that? And so then they just keep going on that. But yeah, they discovered the pseudoephedrine. We said, well, that's not in our recipe and that's not what we wanted. You can have that product. We're discontinuing it, throw it away, and that sort of stuff. But we lost all of that.
Yeah, we basically limped through and we made it by the skin of our teeth. I mean, as I said, one time when we were looking at, and Tony comes to me, and I forget exactly when it was, and she goes, Jeff, we've got, we don't have enough money to pay staff and or rent. And I said, how much money do we need? She goes, right now we need another $4,000 like just next week. We need it. Otherwise...
It's all done.
Yeah, we're out. We're gone.
Well, what do you do? Bank loan?
No, well, that not. No, well, we didn't have anything. We had no
Human
income.
Torch.
Relative?
We'd exhausted. My parents had no money. Matt's parents had no money. Yeah. So what I ended up doing, and this is again another one of those hand of God moments, is that I used to play quite a bit of poker. So I'd go on a Friday and Saturday night and beat up the drunks, and normally eke out $400 or $500 or what have you. This time I entered into an online tournament when you could still play online tournaments here in Australia on a website called PokerStars for $22 and ended up winning first place. Now, I often finished in the top, 10 made the final table. Normally you chop the pot and so, you might walk out with, $1,000, $1,500 or what have you. I couldn't. So they were like, do you want to chop pot? I'm like, no, I don't want to chop pot. So anyway, got right the way through and then won a heads up, which meant that I won $5,000 on that tournament. Yeah. That win, playing on PokerStars, is again was one of those critical points of when we were going to actually survive or not.
So let's say you didn't win a cent that night. What would have happened?
Gone.
We had nothing. We had nothing. We were.
I remember asking Jeff once on the way down. I said, where's the kill switch? Where is that point where it's beyond? And he says, well, we beg, borrow, steal everything we can from ourselves, our family and friends until we declare bankruptcy. And at that point is what we can't go on. But that's what we do, But
we begged and borrowed and other people were stealing from us, unfortunately.
Because remember we had that then with that T432, we then now still needed to get this bloody stock out. Like we may feel that, but we weren't going to keep doing the hand press and keep doing that. We used a contract we found another contract manufacturer in Australia. This one's a TGA GMP facility with all of the amazing bells and whistles. So and basically they made a batch of T432 for us. When we tested it, because we test everything, because after all this, after everything, we test everything. We've had such criminals involved in a lot of these stages of the business that if we weren't testing everything, this stuff would have got out onto the market. It would have been disastrous. We had 200 times the amount of iodine, which took it to 1,000 micrograms. The toxic level of iodine is 1,100 micrograms, and that's when we're in 1,500 is the nuclear emergency medicine doses.
Potassium iodide,
But on our bottle, we did say take 1 capsule a day. These guys come back to us and said, sell it anyway. No one will know. If people follow your instructions, no one should die. Anyone that doesn't follow your instructions that might have a reaction have got not a leg to stand on because they didn't follow your instructions.
So that was a TGA.
So we were sitting there going, well, look, we know for a fact people will be taking not just 1, but some people take up to 6 of this capsule, and that level will kill them. But regardless, the label says this, the product says that, we can't sell it with that. They then went on a preemptive strike, attacking us to our particular customers. They then explained that they had a dossier against John, who we call Cleopatra, Queen of Denial, not because of his criminal history, but because of his other preferences. But so with John, they said that he was a career criminal mastermind. They were going to go to all the news with his dossier against this evil bloke. And when you meet him, you laugh. But they then went on a big preemptive strike, attacking us and telling everyone about us, that we're bad risk for the industries and all that big strike. And they did a big extortion. That file is at the Beenleigh police.
It is.
So we've got the Logan police with another guy, and then we've got the Beenleigh police. We're dealing with this extortion case.
We went to mediation.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, I spoke to John about it just before. We went to mediation. And the mediator said, what you've done is not right. But
the contract says you can do whatever you like.
With the contract is you must enforce payment. So they paid us back for the materials. We had to pay them for the contract. So as it was,
but that's when we busted them swapping materials, and that's when we found out
they were signing on the bomb. Though actually, got somebody else's unsigned. Someone had signed off without our authorization.
That's insane.
So these contract manufacturers, they'll go through and steal our awesome materials to give to a Blackmore's TGA job or something like that they think is something to be that they're striving for, and they'll screw us to help to try to get a bigger business from the big boys. But mate, that's not even the worst story. They did so many dodgy stuff to anyone. Remember all the other stories when that was happening to us. All these other people come up. Oh, you should have heard what they did to us. You should have heard what they did to us. Oh, it was evil as hell.
So are they still in manufacturing?
Yeah. So what it came down to is that is the reason why we decided that we had to manufacture ourselves, because you can see that everything we wanted to outsource, but unfortunately, where there is love of money, there is all kinds of practices of evil, which is exactly what these people were doing. They were putting profit before people every single time. At the end of the day, longevity with great companies, if you look at any of the really great companies out there, they are providing exceptional value. They're actually providing products that are helping people, and these people aren't.
Yeah, but we found this stuff because we tested for it. No one else is testing for it. Everyone's looking at paperwork.
Turning a blind eye. So that's where we went, right, screw it, let's do everything ourselves. So we insourced everything, even with regards to marketing. I mean, like all the people that we're hiring at the moment, we're getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Company or business acumen is outsource everything. I disagree. I think insource everything. Well, because you get to control
remember, we had
everything.
That decision. We made a statement saying the only time to insource is if you can do it better or cheaper, and it worked out that we could do both, but it become compulsory because at the end of the day, if you want to know what's in your products, you got to do it yourself. That's what I say. If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing properly, and if you want it done properly, you got to do it yourself. And that's where we just created all that stuff because we just needed the transparency, the control. What really upset us about the contract manufacturing and the distribution and all that sort of stuff is the lies. But trying to get people telling us that we're not entitled to know what's going in our products. That's their secrets, or that's their intellectual property, or they don't have to tell us. They don't have to disclose it. And we go, bullshit. We need to. If you've got a batch book on our products, I want a copy of that batch book, and they go, no, that's our property. We're not sharing it to you.
I rang and spoke to one of the juniors there who didn't know better, who sent it across to me. That's the only reason we've got it.
And then it disappeared. When we went back to say, hey, look, that thing. I said, well, I got a copy. We took copies of it. But they said, no, ours original's gone. So it's just magically disappeared. Well, here it is. You can use our copies to report. Oh, no, that's...
You don't pay people to stress you out, whether they're consultants or whether they're partners or whether they're employees or what have you, right?
Yeah.
So I remember sitting, and this is just before this all went down with this bad batch, and we were desperate for product because this company consistently, lied about
when did I?
No. This is what I'm telling you. No. So you're sitting there, and Matt's there, and he's going, he rang up, and he goes, Where's our bloody stuff? And he's like, mate, I'm sorry, it's coming. And it'll be leaving soon. So anyway, Matt rings back the next day and goes, is it left yet? He goes, mate, I'm looking out my window. I can see it loading onto the truck right now. It should be with you this afternoon.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And then the next day, I said, mate, is there a track and D? Is there a track and D? Is there a way I can track? Which company? Can I call them up? I want to know where my stock is because every time you tell me something, I'm telling my sales guys something and they're telling other people something and I'm starting to look like a liar. So anyway, 3 weeks later, I was calling every day. Okay, 3 weeks later, the receptionist, sorry, he's not going to take your calls. And then what happened is she says, is there anything I can help you with? And I said, well, let's hope someone can help me with it. I'm expecting my delivery. And she says, is it this delivery? And I said, yes. And she says, okay, so your delivery is now on hold until you make the payment. You owe us some money. And I said, no, our contract is 30 days after delivery is when we pay. And she says, well, that's come up now into the software. And I said, no, what I'm telling you is we haven't had our delivery yet. And she's gone, well, you've already come into the time where you've got to pay for it. And I said, no, it's 30 days after we receive it. Anyway, cut a long story short, we did that same discussion for quite a while. And then eventually it came back and I said to him, I went back to Jeff and Tony and said, look, okay, I know this is wrong. I know this is bad. These guys will not release our stock unless we pay for it. We really need it. Is there any way that we can, I know it's the wrong thing to do and we shouldn't have to do it, but if we make this payment and we give them the remittance, they'll release our stock and we will actually get it this time. Like I've been saying this for 3 weeks, it's coming. And anyway, so then we did that. That was on a Tuesday or something like that. Then what they did is I rang them up and said, right, we've made the repayment. I've sent you a remittance. They said, right, well, we don't accept your remittance. We will wait for the money to clear into our bank. And that may take 2 or 3 days. So that then I contacted them on the Thursday to say, how's that going? And then they said, yes, that's fine. It'll be sent out next week. But in the meantime, I think it was when she was basically saying, we've held your stock. We will not be releasing it unless you make this payment. And I got a little bit frustrated. And a little bit. The frustrating thing was that we had a concrete table. Yeah, I was working on a polished concrete. And I decided to just bang the desk in frustration. A little, these guys have made me cranky. I went, and I just banged the desk a little bit. And then we thought we'll get up and we'll go for a walk.
Like a tap, wasn't it?
No,
I was going to take you to lunch.
Oh, well, that's where we went to go to lunch. I said, let's just go, we'll have a lunch, we'll have a feed and just chill out and that sort of stuff. And as we walk into the coffee shop, I think Jeff said, it looks like you cut yourself, you got a bit of blood or something. So I went to wipe it and said, actually, no, I think I got a splinter or something. Must have been something on the table. So I'm trying to pull this splinter out. Then I noticed my finger was hanging straight down sideways and I'm going, silly me, I've dislocated my finger when I banged the desk. So I'm pulling it out and trying to relocate it as I'm going. Then I realised that wasn't a splinter, that was my bone hanging out.
So you had a compound fracture.
And then open compound fracture. Oh. The good news is we'd released Prototype 8 and Shilajit at the time, and we're working with the German scientist on the collagen. And I had a week-long fishing trip planned for Cape York. First holiday I'd had planned for decades. And that was to happen in 5 weeks. And I just did an open compound fracture. 3 weeks later, plaster removed, perfectly healed. 5 weeks later, fish in Cape York.
Awesome.
Lucky, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But still, compound fracture because he banged his hand on the desk so hard.
They just kept lying.
And was that the end of the contract manufacturing, or is there more?
I think that's pretty much.
That's the end.
No, we had to do a little bit with some other people.
That was frustrating too.
That was just frustrating because that was.
They
straight lies.
They delivered and the quality was there, but the excipients, they ramped up the amount of excipients that they were using. That's what we discovered. So.
And that's when we just, and they weren't disclosed. It was just frustrating and hard to deal with people that won't give you honest answers and just that. And for us, first do no harm involves, and results not excuses, involves knowing what the bloody hell you're dealing with.
So the 2 times the company was up against the wall, we had the infrared, which we did not sell, which we, and again, I remember at the time we were like, this is a hard decision. This might take us to the wall, but it's the right thing to do. The second thing is when we received the T432 that had the iodine, which was sitting.
It's still there.
No, we've destroyed it. Got rid of it. It's been destroyed. So I think it has.
And then
it was sitting under
destroyed
quarantine for years.
We destroyed all that Limitless. We had to throw all that Limitless away. So that was like a year's worth of potential revenue.
And that's not when you're doing well. That's not when you've got money in the bank and everything.
That's when we went on the investor circuit. That's when we gone, we need an investor. So that's when we started this big. Now that was funny, because remember, I know we had one guy that was really excited. Well, I can't remember his name, but I can remember his name. But
you can't say it.
No, I can't remember the guy you reminded me of. Who's the guy off Astro Boy with that curly hair, though? Is it Mr. Walrus or something?
Oh, yeah.
He looked exactly like one of those guys off Astro Boy. Yeah. You know, the bald head with the curly? That's exactly what he looked like. And he was telling us, he's all excited about our business plan. He's really excited about our science and all that sort of stuff. But he actually was at the school with his kid one day and sitting next to the PE teacher. And the two of them decided creatine was a steroid. So he wanted to invest into our product, providing we do not ever deal with creatine. Because creatine is evil.
Creatine monohydrate that's found in food, steaks, and that's a steroid.
All your cells in your body. So he basically, and we're just like, wow, this is going to be challenging to deal with a potential investor that, after speaking to a PE teacher, has decided that half of our belief system is evil.
Let me set the scene a little bit. So basically what had happened at that time is the supplement den's value had gone from $1.8 million down to about $300,000. Right. I sold the business for $150,000, right? So at that time then I got rid of my accountant and I brought on this new accountant as well too. He was then brought on and also brought on as ATP's accountant to actually help us to get investor ready.
Yes.
So he said that it would take him around about 4 weeks.
4 weeks,
to get all of the figures up to date. And this is around about, I think it was around mid-year, if I remember correctly. It was around June, July. Yeah, it was, because that's when I sold. I sold right on before June 30 so that they could start the new financial year. Anyway, to cut a long story short, he said, it'll take us about 30 days. I can get all the information ready so that you can present it to the investors. So we're on the circuit. Matt and I are out there. We're talking to people, talking to venture capitalists, talking to investors and all the rest of it. And anyway,
I thought they were vulture capitalists, didn't you say?
Yeah. Anyway, so we went to a meeting one time and we said, look, the financials are coming. We've got some preliminary that they weren't finalised, and let's talk about the company. And they said, look, we can see this is fantastic. You're looking really, really good. But we can see that you're going to have a liquidity problem in this month. Come back and see us the month after. Like literally, that's what they said.
You're likely to go bust in February.
Yeah.
Let's talk in March.
Yeah.
And then instead of getting 10%, we'll take 80% or whatever.
Yeah.
But don't forget, before we got to that point is when we still need to give those financials to the guys.
So that was the March the following year, Matt.
Oh, that's right.
So what it was is that we employed this guy in July basically to get the figures ready. He said a month. It was a piece of string that happened through. Yeah, it kept getting pushed back, kept putting pushed back, and ended up sacking him in January.
No, but don't forget before that. The reason we sacked, but we had that really good opportunity. We had an investor genuinely, like all they want to do is just quick due diligence, just have a quick look at the numbers.
Yep.
He just strung it out until it got to the point where this person goes, look, guys, if you can't give me your finances, this is too big a risk. Yeah. That's when he said, okay, 50 grand in a brown paper bag. Payroll's coming, boys, remember? Remember all that? It turned into a big, nasty extortion where he wanted us to pay all this money for him to give the work that he was going to do and locked us out of all of our accounting software and then started heckling us with texts and emails saying payroll's coming, your staff's all going to walk out if you can't pay
Not only payroll, but also all of our bills, but also then we were doing R&D grants at the same time as well.
We lost all of that.
John had to reconstruct from emails, which thank God we're able to do. And again, we would have gone broke. So this asshole accountant locked us out of our own accounts because he was incapable of actually doing his job. When we changed over to the new accountants, they've just laughed and gone, this guy must be a crook. He's absolutely got no accountant acumen whatsoever. This is one of the 17 that we had that we were paying.
No, we lost that court case, remember, because we went to court with that guy and he came out and just said this blatant lie.
And he manufactured a journal as well.
And the judge or whatever that Angley Ranger that was there that really disappointed he wasn't a real judge. He was bitter and he kind of said to us that well, look, have you previously submitted evidence to say that what he just said was a lie? And we've gone, well, we weren't anticipating that made-up story to be here. So no, we didn't preempt a made-up story about a lie with a bit of information that might disprove his lie because it's a lie. Yeah. And then the judge said, but he said it first.
Pretty much. I mean, paraphrasing, but that's pretty much how it
That's what he said. He said it first under oath. So unless we had pre-submitted evidence to say that he's like, and then that was crazy. Hey,
it was horrible. So what ended up happening away is that we sued him, he sued us, and the court basically said, no, both of you go your separate ways.
So you paid him for 6 months for nothing, and he got away with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's still in practice too.
Yeah, and we never got any of that investment, which was probably a good thing.
Well, it was. And see, this is the funny thing, right? With all of these things, with all of these people, which is why, again, I probably have some resentment towards the manufacturing company because they were putting people at risk, our customers at risk. All these other people were effectively out for themselves.
Just consultants.
They were trying to get money or they were trying to do
They're doing the divide and conquer.
Well, I had a feeling that the accountant was actually taking us out into deep water, stringing out the figures so that we wouldn't get them because he had a mate down in Victoria that he wanted to invest. Remember? So we think that he was trying to take us out into deep water financially so that we'd be desperate enough to actually take on an investment. There was somebody who was actually interested in investing into the company for a reasonable amount stake of the company for a reasonable, I think it was $500,000 for about 25% of the company, which is laughable to think about that now, but right? And he was ready to go. He said, I just need to sign off on the figures. It got dragged out. He then came back to us literally, I think it was about 4 or 5 months later and said, you guys haven't got your S together. So, sorry guys, my offer now is I'll give you the $500,000, but I want 51% of the company.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, well, we're not taking that. You're not giving control to anyone. No. And I think this other bloke...
Then we had but even other weird things. Even when we did finally get it right, we had the guys that we wanted. Really great guy. And he got shafted by his partner.
Yep.
And then all of his money and his own business and everything they were working towards got taken out from underneath him from the other side. And he felt terrible for us. And we're like, man, family first, get into it. Yeah. And then we had the other one that was...
The inventor from Mackay who had the water system and he was making squillions.
And then
he goes, yep, we're in.
He was flying down to meet us. And then...
He went quiet, radio silence.
Then he disappeared. Never turned up to the meeting and never disappeared. Months later, I eventually... send him a message on some social media. I saw him and he says, oh, look, mate, family first, changed my mind. And I said, that's cool.
And I think he went through a bit of a bad time.
Yeah.
So, but the funny thing is, though, is that with all of these things, with every single negative that's happened, and this is where the old cliches come out, but when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. Well, all of it has actually been for our benefit, Matt.
What we've learned through ATP is not that. When life gives you lemons, we take the lemonade out of we push limonene out of the peels. We actually use the pith and get the bioflavonoids, like glycine and room. We get the naringenins. We get all that sort of stuff and make them into different lots of products that can help people standardised and with quality.
And look, see, there's a Rocky quote for you. We got punched in the face a lot of times, Matt, but we kept on going.
That's we did it differently, Jeff. What we did is every time we did it, we learnt and tried something different. And we gone, no, that didn't work. So there was a lot of back and forwards to get to where we wanted to go. I mean, I don't know where we are.
Rocky. When I were in the college, I made some
I still like Rocky, but it's like my big point is Don't use it for business advice.
Now,
don't use a punch-drunk boxer for business advice?
Yeah.
Oh, well, now you're saying a bit late.
Now, along this time, you had to promote the business, so you had to go on road trips or something, did you?
Yeah, bloody oath.
Well, we had some...
What were they?
Well, see,
look, the funny thing
we
is...
had no money again. So now, when we first met, this is an important thing quickly, because there was a weird little moment where... me, Jeff and Tony and that were all talking, and we're like, oh, this is synergy. This is meant to be like we're talking the same language. Coincidentally, we both happen to be happen to be reading the same book at the same time. Now, I'm not an entrepreneurial person. That's not my thing, and I still can't. You heard me trying to say the word. I've actually tried to spell it somewhere here, and I couldn't.
It's French, Matt.
Yeah. Risk taker. And then... So I was reading a book, Marketing Without Money, because I had no money and I was told I was shit at marketing. So I thought this would be a great book.
Perfect book.
And it just so happened that was one of the only business books I have ever read, and I happened to be reading it when I met Jeff and that. So we were talking and saying a lot of the same things and picking up on this synergy. Later on, we realised we were both reading the same book and quoting from the same book, which is why we're having these little epiphanies. And like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was feeling in my soul.
For anyone, but specifically in Australia as well too, where the business climate's a little bit more difficult, I think, than overseas.
Yeah.
Go and read it. It's got some,
brilliant book.
Unbelievable.
And that's why I trusted John when he come on, because he was mates with the authors.
Edward de Bono,
Edward de Bono is one of my heroes, a world leader of lateral thinking.
And that. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Incredible.
So that was,
But so then basically Marketing Without Money was kind of cool for us at that time, because, 2010, we had no money, but social media, Facebook and that sort of stuff was really picking up then, and we had free advertising on Facebook. We used a lot of influencers with product, and we worked with a lot of coaches, and that's how we kind of and before ATP, I used to do a lot of work with racehorses, and I worked out that the stable full of 30 horses had one trainer. And if I can get the trainer to understand, because horses typically understood nothing what I was saying, and they give bugger all feedback, but the trainer I could have a decent conversation with sometimes, and then the trainers would then give the products to 30 horses. So I could get more leverage by educating a trainer. So when we did the ATP, we went and worked more with coaches and went and worked with influential store owners and coaches and people that were out there sharing the information, and we were helping them to do that. But then we did a lot of free seminars, so we just went and hit the road. A lot of the time making bloody capsules all day and everything, then doing these seminars at night, still with burning eyes from T432s and
got some great pictures.
But then we went online.
Sydney. We went to Sydney.
Oh, what happened in Sydney?
Oh, that was fun. Me and Jeff were just exhausted one night. Like we just...
Literally, like the true definition of exhausted.
You know when you're just like idiots?
Yeah.
And
delirious.
You just wander around. And then we go into the room and something, and then I think I dropped one.
So basically, Matt and I were in the room, and he drops his guts, right? Which, again, is not like Matt, because he's a gentleman.
No, but that's a serious... Don't laugh when you say that.
I'm not.
I am. You are laughing. You're laughing when you say I'm a gentleman.
No, seriously, Matt's not into farts and smelling other people's farts, right?
I'm not laughing at Matt.
I'm a dry reacher.
So anyway, and I looked over at him absolutely more shocked than disgusted. And I said, "Did you just fart?" And he looked at me and he goes, "No, my panties whispered." And I tell you what...
We were so tired, Dylan. We just lost.
We just laughed
for days.
Oh, it was the little things, and it's something that sticks with me now. That little,
but sharing it,
we just laughed, and it was finding that joy in that moment, which was bloody tough, because we were just on the knife's edge the whole time.
Yeah. And it was heavy. We were all sharing. We had no money. We were sharing. We were hiring these little cars. I went and did a trip with Grant once, and we hired this tiny car,
and
like a Nissan Micra or something
that
like
he cannot stand people farting in his presence.
Yeah, right? And Grant lives on protein and broccoli and was just crop dusting constantly. It was just a chickily crop dusting machine, and it was rotten. It was just... You imagine that, just the sulphurs. Anyway, I'm starting to get it sick thinking about it. But we used to do that. And what he used to do is I knew when he'd farted, because he'd just press that button that locks the windows and then go... and he'd be farting in this cup. Anyway... And then what would happen, we'd go to these hotels and we do it. And like at the hotels, they're like, let's get a hotel with two beds. So what they do is they get the double bed and they separate it. Right there. And then
there was 4 people in that room.
Oh no, when me and Grant just did those trips through North Queensland, constant farting in the car, get to the hotel, constant. Man, Grant's so much tougher than me, could beat the shit out of me. There was one night I was just like, I'm so angry at you. Like, I had no idea how to threaten this person, but I was just eventually just passive-aggressively stormed out and didn't come back. And he come back, I'm very sorry about farting in you. Again,
because he thought it was hilarious.
It was constant.
Yeah,
and it was horrendous.
There was another staff member involved in the
No,
fight.
there's a different.
So
that's a different one.
Then we had one trade show that was really funny. We went down to Melbourne
again,
but I was the adult. You guys weren't there.
No, we weren't.
So they sent me.
I couldn't afford to
On
go.
your
So,
own?
No. Worse, me with staff.
Oh,
and they
my
said,
God.
you're the boss here, Matt, and you're the owner.
With Elsa, who's head of marketing.
Yeah, and so I was a bit overwhelmed by that. No, not at all. I just totally neglected that responsibility. Totally palmed it off to the guys to, you better look after yourself here.
Grant was there and one of the other reps.
Yeah.
And even you're all in one room.
Yeah, all in one tiny room on couches and beds and all that sort of stuff. But even before that, so we went out and had some drinks that night. And then the funny thing is, we're in this nightclub. I don't only own ATP clothes. So we went out to drinks, and I wasn't expecting it. So here I am wearing the black ATP shirt, standing out in front of the nightclub trying to ask these people. Next thing you know, I was stamping wrists. People saying, can I go out and come back in? Yeah, go for it. I just need one of these stamps. I had no stamp. They thought I was security. So I'm sitting there stamping all these people. Yeah, go. And then these people are coming back. And he told me we could come back in. It was like anyway, weird ass story. End up back at the hotel room. Somehow set my alarm to try to go to sleep because we still had to work the next day. I was the adult. Man, I've missed a whole section of story. Do you remember the photo I sent you with the car keys?
Yeah.
So what I did, I thought it was really funny as well. Early in the night, I had my room key and we were walking past these yellow Lamborghinis. And so I just got someone to take a photo of me throwing the keys up in the air. And I sent a text to Jeff saying, the guys worked really hard today. I'm spoiling them. We've rented this car. We're going to go for some joy rides.
It wasn't really believable because we didn't have the money.
No. But I told him we took the petty cash for it. And then we went drinking and I turned my phone off and that was it. I wasn't going to listen to him anymore. And then the funniest thing was I had a great idea in the middle of the night. It would be really funny if I went Google imaged a yellow Ferrari, a Lamborghini that was totally written off. So when I took a photo of that and I sent it to Jeff and said, shit just got real, and then I turned my phone off again.
All of a sudden I went,
really funny.
Would he, okay, maybe he was stupid enough to take all the money that we've got to buy magic beans.
Anyway, I thought that was really funny because they were a bit nervous that I was a responsible adult, which was fair enough. And then we did that. I thought I was so funny. And then I was stamping people thinking I was still funny. And then we went back to the hotel room. I set my alarm, went to bed, lying there, not sleeping real well. Elsa, and anyway, I hear Elsa walking around, and I decided to drop a fart because I thought it would be funny. She was going to the toilet in the middle of the night, and as she's walking past the room, I thought I'd just do a fart, and she'd find it funny. But that fart come out like it was like a whip cracking. It was like a thunderclap, like a crack. I can't even do it. You'll wreck the microphone. But anyway, Elsa got such a fright, she jumped inside a suitcase and shut it. So she's walking, and then just crack, and she jumped, and I'm there trying to pretend to be asleep. Yeah. Because she says, she's going off. I'm stuck in a suitcase, someone help. And then I'm like there. Oh. And then anyway, it was, if I really think about it,
about 45 minutes
probably
later.
About 45 minutes later, my alarm goes off. Yes. Right, Matt's up. Yep. I'm boss, responsible. Probably been a bit irresponsible last night. Better get back on track and show everyone that I can still perform. Show. And so I jumped in the shower and got my clothes on, and I'm sitting there because we were in Melbourne, and Melbourne's a weird place. I don't understand because it seems to be very dark, very dark.
It's always dark in winter, yeah.
So I'm sitting there, going, it's dark. It could be, my clock's saying it's like 7. I'm starting to yell at the guys, going, guys, seriously, wake up! This is bull. They're just, screw you, mate. Like yelling abuse back to me, and I'm like, man, I'm the boss. Like, nah.
And then they worked out you were serious.
Yeah, and then they're going, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And then eventually, to cut a long story short, somehow when I went to set my alarm, I changed the time to Fiji time.
It was 3 hours ahead.
Which is 3 hours ahead. So I basically got to sleep at 3, and then my alarm went off at 3:30, and then I got up and had a shower, and I was sitting there like drunk as a skunk, trying to be a mature adult. Well, all these other people just abusing me for trying. I'm going, well, this is we were just screwed then, Then someone eventually said, it's Matt, it's actually like 4 a.m. Why don't you go back to bed? And I'm just like, but then I didn't. I actually just sat there. I was determined. No,
I'm right.
I'm in Fiji time.
So, this has just covered like ancient history, obviously, into where we've gone. But where do you want to go from here? What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is I don't really know because where we are now, we spent all this time just trying to survive. We've got to a point now where we get to this facility, and by the time we set it up, we've actually outgrown it. We're growing really fast. We're tripling most years, hey? So then what happens is We got this year we get into the Australia's fastest growing number 13 on the top 100.
Yeah,
we would have been awesome last year, but we didn't know you had to nominate. I assumed ATO's just going through. This guy's killing it. This guy's killing it. Give him an award.
No, John knew.
No. But we didn't register. We didn't know to register. So then eventually we nominated and we got on this thing, which was pretty proud moment for us. We're now doing all this expansion. We're now getting back into a lot along the way. We've done a lot of clinical data. We've done a lot of trials. We've done a lot of experiments. Man, even the protein. Can you imagine? We invented that amazing protein. Everything about that was so amazing. And then some guy tried to sell it to PepsiCo.
Oh, yeah.
Remember
so
that?
This is not the current protein that we've got.
No, this was before that. So
there's too many stories. We were basically working with, Queensland government.
A waste product that was associated with the green story. We were fixing multiple industries. We had the beautiful green story. We had a perfect plant protein. It turned out to be 99.5% pure protein, clear, flavourless, capable of doing anything with it, and was a byproduct of an industry that we could save, and it had the most beautiful green story and everything. The story and everything about it was so good, the Queensland government decided they'd do the best thing for the Australian people was to give it to PepsiCo.
After we had spent
$50,000
and 2 years committed to doing R&D, and this is at a time again where $50,000
and the factory went and did that renovations to step it up. Remember, they went and actually built the drying part for us.
And the thing is, as I said, I've actually forgotten more than I can remember. Matt,
we end up winning that case though, and we now own that IP, but you can't really do much with it now. We've missed the opportunity. Missed that opportunity, but everything about that was massive.
Better in terms of obviously its effect, which is obviously the body balance. But
everything happens for a reason because we've got the essential aminos too.
So in terms of, I guess it's been a pretty cool story, and we started obviously the podcast along that time as well too, Matt, where we had a really dodgy ass $20 microphone, and we just thought that we might get a few PTs and a few people listening to it, and it's been really good, and the feedback that we've had good because we've been giving free advice, free information. Yeah, we had to share
can you imagine this? Like, you look at that head, and when he does the eyebrows and he does the stuff, imagine us sharing a microphone. And, Jeff says,
that far apart.
He said, how you describe the distance?
No, I'm not saying that.
He talks about the genital length distance.
Oh, gosh.
And as he looks into my eyes, he leans back because it was growing.
It's growing.
You get it? Anyway, but that was really awkward. I'll never forget, there's one podcast when Tony came in and said, Matt, I'm going to delete that podcast. I just need to, do you actually hate Jeff? And I said, no, but you try sharing a microphone with a guy. And then she related. No.
And then we got
two microphones.
Yeah. And then Steve joined us and we got three.
There's a spare over.
But then we got Vanessa with some tech.
And again, I think in terms of this year and where we are now, obviously things are changing again. We're expanding internationally. So we're now in India. We're now in UAE.
We're doing some of the most wicked trials. The problem is we keep doing trials that are really big inventions, and they get caught up with confidentiality and the release dates of these things. The scientific agenda doesn't really care about our commercial campaign or our consumers' desire for the data that we're creating, because the science just insists on running through a certain way, and we're just stuck in that system where we invent something and we've got to wait for the chance to publish it or create the other documents around it. And it's a slow old process, the science is there. We're releasing as much as we can. And then with our collagen, our No Way, like we launched that. It was supposed to have that paper published prior to our launch. So we tried to time it because they told us about this paper that was going to be published in the November, so we could then launch in the following March. So then when it didn't get launched in November nor December, and then January nor February, these people saying, and then all of a sudden after our launch, they're like, we're not quite sure when.
Well, what's interesting though is that we do actually still have
this year.
But a couple of things on that. We do have the recorded where we have the scientists from Germany actually presenting the information.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think legally we can release that because they've said that in the public domain. The other thing as well too that's really interesting is that when it was sent off to be peer reviewed, Matt, they came back and said 2 of the 3 reviewers said, no problem, this is awesome, this is great. One of them came back.
They keep quoting protein score compared to whey.
And they say this can't possibly work because of the leucine count in collagen, which is terrible.
But the
saying, no, the methodology of that It does not interact.
But how's the corruption of science? They're saying you can't publish this scientific finding because it doesn't fit with our existing story.
But it's got to be deeper than that. The
dairy industry.
Well, I was about to say, what sort of conflict may that person have? They don't need to give a reason as to why they're not going to do it. But Matt, what we should probably do as well too is we should have a podcast where we talk about some of your eureka moments, and some of them have been while we've been even on the podcast where you're talking about things and you go, that's how things work. You know?
Happens to us all. I've had a heap of those. Yeah, they're awesome. It's funny you talk about the protein, and you know this will probably be released around March time. And of course, that's when we're releasing the bars.
The bar official launch is going to be a bit later in the year, but we're going to do a pre-launch to sort of get things going. And that's been a labour of love, 2.5 years working on that. The amount of money that we've spent on developing this bar from prototype through to the patents that we've now got on it. And there's different versions of the bar coming out, but it's
interesting, eh? And the good news is we stand. The fact is, because we designed these things to work, we got the exact doses in the bars that are going to be published in that paper. That's showing that significant.
It's not a soy protein or a whey protein, which doesn't hold up well under heat and under manufacturing. It's not chalky like most of them. Really chalky. So I'm pretty proud of the bar.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the fact is that it does have the exact same protein that does all the benefits in it.
Yeah. Do you know one thing? There's one thing about ATP. Remember last year? I think it was actually this time last year. I think it was the Arnold show in Australia last year, and I had a bit of an emotional moment with the team when I was up there because when I walked into that expo, I remembered back when we first started this industry. Now, I'm a naturopath. I wasn't from the bodybuilding industry as such. So when I first ever went to my first bodybuilding show with you guys, I remember walking in, all hanging from the roof was just photoshopped girls and steroid guys, and it was all about hardcore, massive, legal highs. You know, if they could have been up there with lines of coke and that on the pictures, they would have been. You know, it was that type of industry. Right? Then we did a little bit of market research saying, what would you rather? Something that's likely to give you cancer, but that's how strong it works, or something that'll prevent cancer and give you a gentle, subtle effects. And everyone goes, no, give me the cancer stuff. At least I know it works. You know what I mean? Everyone wanted to feel something. It was about that short-term high. Well, we went in and created that market that was not there. You know, we come in with the creams, but then we come in with the natural stuff. Then we're talking about all the plant stuff. We're using the naturopathic philosophy, the nutrients, the first do no harm, results not excuses. Then when we went down last year and I walked in and everything, you look across the signs, it's all changed. It's all health and it's wellness and it's naturopathic and it's bringing that health and wellness, bringing the weekend warrior and the everyday athlete back into this hardcore thing, to the point now that the shops that were all hardcore are now starting to turn to be a little bit softer because we're sending mums in.
But not only that as well too, Matt. I think a lot of the hardcore performance and bodybuilding community as well too recognise that this can actually work with them too. For example, Quarter X was originally marketed to people. If you're taking a high stimulant, you need to look after your adrenals. So this you should definitely take the Quarter X. It also improves sleep. So with regards to Alpha Mars, for example, one of my favourite products, even guys that are on the gear can use the product to optimize the pathways and make sure that you get less conversion down the other pathways. But it was more of it stays as free testosterone.
Health was a dirty word when we first started.
But it doesn't, and this is the thing as well too, I think that we're educating people is that it's not one or the other. The two, actually, there is a synergy. Whether you're hardcore or whether you're general health, you know, looking after your body, you know, making sure you've got the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, that you're regulating your hormonal pathways in an optimal fashion is going to help you to achieve either better health or better performance. Like it's not, and I think this was the thing, especially with the hardcore, you know, end of the market. They're like, oh, if it's natural, it's weak, it's no good. That's starting to come around now going, no, well, I can use the hardcore stuff.
Well, you've got to build a stable state.
Yes.
Build a base foundation, and then you can launch from that, and the stuff really works.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I was about to say. So for the guys that are to that extreme using the dark arts, as they call them or what have you, one, you know, this is going to be better for your health, but two, it actually may help to improve those things to work.
It enhance their effects, prevent their side effects, and we've brought this in. We've brought this wellness back into that sports for everyone, marketplace.
I mean, whether you're hardcore or whether you're, you know, weekend warrior or whether you're not doing anything and you've got a disease, as you, you know, you talk about the lack of ease in the body. You know, this is where I think ATP is what they call in the US a crossover brand, because we do sort of have products that can, they're multifaceted.
Hence the podcast, hence the seminars, hence all of our key education points, which we try to pump out as much as we can.
So we've only really touched on a brief history of the company, and for those that are interested, I appreciate some people might not be interested, and if you have stuck through and you're interested because you're sort of interested in terms of where we came from, but we've only mentioned a small amount. But Matt, I think we could do further podcasts in the future about some of your discoveries, some of your breakthroughs, some of those eureka moments, which I think are awesome.
That's the problem. Most of it's, to a certain degree, the future stuff's a bit secretive at this moment, but we can talk about
even some of the breakthroughs. I mean, like when, for example, you put the rosemary into the prototype 7,
and the kelp into the block E3, and
there's so many things where we've gone. Matt's done something for a certain reason, and then worked out, there's actually additional benefits we didn't know about. But the thing is, I guess, is that we're very grateful. We're fortunate that we're still here, and the reason we're still here is, at the end of the day, is that we've been supported really well. You know, we are a small Australian company, and you know, it's nice that we're getting international recognition and starting to get a bit more ground. I mean, Americans love us, which is kind of cool. And Australians, you know, sometimes they think that we're a lot bigger than what we are, and we're driving around in our flash new cars, and we're, you know, it's nothing.
The reality is
you've got your Mazda.
Alfie just started school. So 6 months after Alfie was born, you had Corbin. Tony had an extended lunch break to have Corbin, and then continued to work. Then 6 months after that, I had Henry. All boys, all alpha babies. And then everyone so we've been battling through like family life. We've had all of those other adversities. We were flat broken in major debt when we started this thing. So we've never really got into that life of an entrepreneur and like those flash CEO. We've never done any.
And I don't begrudge that though. Too. I've got to say, I mean, there's some guys that I really like out there, even in Australia, you know, personal trainers, and they're doing bloody well, and they're buying some nice. Good on you. This Australian tall poppy thing. I really, it's gross.
We need more millionaires.
Well, we do. I mean, and we need more people that are investing,
employing people,
investing technology back into Australia, and also to help the world's problems. And
I tell you something
we've got
funny,
some smart
though.
people.
I tell you an interesting thing, because like I said, I'm not entrepreneurial at all, and I find it a dirty word to talk about money as a naturopath. That's why I talk about helping people and energy, and you know, with a naturopath, and I try to use different measurements of success based on how many products we're selling, how many people are we helping, you know, those sort of things. But I'll tell you one really interesting pattern that we've seen. One thing that I read in one of those entrepreneurial books that talks about the magic of thinking big or some stupid thing, but talk about your imagination creates your reality. And you know what's even more powerful than that? A crazy person's imagination, because they believe it so much more. So while we're there busy in amongst stuff, there's been other people there that have imagined this amazing success and imagined this life that we're leading and how easy and how great and how everything it is. And the more failure they have, more imagining success we have. That must be a powerful thing, because every time there's a rant, every time there's a hate, the days after we have those spikes in sales. It's like everyone's going, oh, yeah, screw them. Oh, shit, I forgot to put in an order.
But do you know the funny thing is, do you remember that person who was a friend of mine and, you know, I cared about it, who said, you can't go into business with him because he's actually in the Bible as the Antichrist. It's like, wow. I've really gone up the chain.
That's funny,
Man, we could do a podcast just of the screenshots I've taken of the messages that I've been sent. But that one there was like, now I've put his name into this numerology software that deciphers the Bible and tells us what's going to happen through this software. And he is, and it's actually worse than I thought. He actually is the Antichrist. Not, you know, he's a bad guy. He's the Antichrist. This is like full on. And then I just said, well, is there any if there's doesn't matter that you spelled his name wrong. And then the bloke goes, oh shit, yes. Let me do it again. How do you spell it? And then I told him, and he come back and goes, okay, so. He's not as bad. Okay, he's not the Antichrist.
He's a very naughty boy.
He's not the Antichrist, but he's a very naughty boy. He's still going to hell, and you're going with him. Oh, this is trouble.
You can't win either. You can't win either way.
It's so funny.
Oh, man.
But yeah, you know, and it's been a really fun run. It's been 9 years, and you know, as I said, the whole thing is that hopefully we can produce some really cool products coming forward, and we can help some more people, and we can continue to keep doing it.
It's funny because when I was looking online to how do you research for this topic, because you guys know it all, you know, I found some great stories and that sort of thing, and people would say something bad about this company, and the biggest offenders were not us, was other people. They'd jump on them and say, no, they've got research. No, look at this, amazing for me, and it's just amazing, the stories, you know, and there's some fantastic ones. There's one here from a lady who's a mum blogger, and she said, oh, you know, they've never actually given me any money. I've just reviewed the products, they're absolutely amazing. And she said, this genuine community service and outlet for busy mamas. No money or product was exchanged for this review. In fact, ATP Science don't even know we have published this, or even that we exist for that matter. And that's an amazing review saying how wonderful the products and how it made her feel better.
That's so cool.
We could probably mention her name because she's put it on her article, I guess.
Yeah, well.
I haven't got it here in front of me.
Well, we probably
can't,
but we won't.
I just put out the bit that was in.
What about
basically healthy?
There's one of my favourite case studies was actually one of my former clients. One of my former clients that I used to work.
Kelly, sorry. Ros Kelly's her name. Sorry, that's the lead.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, it's good on you, Ros.
Ros Kelly.
No, we had one of my former clients, she had a condition I could never fix. And then basically just continued to use our products when we started making them and actually fixed the condition that I could never fix when I was working one-on-one with her as a naturopath using the products that were currently available. Totally fixed up that weird-ass condition that had been around for years. And I had another family that I was feeling obligated to kind of continue to help. And eventually they told me not to bother. Through the podcast and through the products, they're actually getting better results than when we were working in the clinic together.
And that's the idea. Look,
the products work, so that's what...
Work. And the information obviously helps to decipher which products you should be using. And if things aren't working, don't just accept that. You know, what makes me sad is when you see people that are suffering from, you know, an illness, you know, or some sort of disease, and they've gone everywhere and they've tried what they think is everything. And then they give up. Because I mean, you can't be helped if you've given up, you know.
So was me.
Was there any? So we mentioned that Marketing Without Money book. You talk a lot about who are your
Think
guys?
and Grow Rich was one of my favorite. Napoleon Hill. You know, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, and that's man and woman.
And you talk a lot about Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek, you know, Eaters Eat Last. You know, the thing I love, and there's a fantastic YouTube clip on him explaining Start With Why. And that's so important. But the thing is that...
And that was along the same lines that Marketing Without Money. You've got to understand your why and be authentic.
And it's authentic as well too. And look, not everyone's going to like you, and that's fine. You know, and some people may, you know, disagree, and that's good as well too. But the whole thing about being authentic and being real, that's what people are. That's what people are interested in. That's what people want. That's what Start With Why is about. That's where serving people. I believe that we're built to serve people. If you help people, that provides value. And that's how you become successful. If it's about yourself, then you know you're never going to become successful. Not long term. You might be able to fool some of the people some of the time. But eventually, you know, it's all going to come crashing down around you. So, you know.
So mine was Marketing Without Money.
I think
the other book
by Napoleon Hill is it's an oldie, but it's a great book. And it was probably that was the book more than any other that really got me on the track of. It actually all just starts with an idea. Thought is the most
and your imagination, and then just working towards it.
I mean, it can work for you or it can work against you. So why not make it work for you?
Well, mine was Dr. Seuss. Oh, the Places You'll Go. Man, read that book. Man, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. Right. So it's a great book, man. You've got to read that. Read the whole book and read it, and just
we've come across a few.
It is brilliant.
And the other one, which is almost like that, like sort of a comic book, is Who Moved My Cheese.
I've read that book.
And you can read it in an afternoon. But it is hem and haw and scratch and sniff. That is so valuable, especially in today's economy where digital marketing. I mean, we've got Amazon coming; it's changing the marketplace. You've got disruption all over the place. I mean, Instagram, Facebook. You know, the world is accelerating in new dimensions and new ways of commerce, like faster than ever before. And I've seen it so many times where people go, "This was how we became successful. This is how we will remain successful." I mean, you look at companies like Kodak. You said it. Xerox as well too. I mean, and look, if they don't move with the times, Blockbuster could have bought Netflix for $50 million.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
And they didn't do it because they thought, no, you know, our model's the way to go. You need to future-proof yourself.
Do you know I had a Beta player? Like our parent, we picked the Beta Max over the
which is actually better quality.
Well, that's what we believe.
But it's slightly less length, so size does matter.
And the other two videos that I can recommend people. There was a YouTube video that I watched that said, "What would you do if money didn't matter?" And then I went, and it's basically said, "Do what you like," and an expert's valuable no matter what. You just focus on what you find fun. And the other one is that Seattle Pike Factory.
Oh yeah,
that fish. These guys are fishmongers, and all they do, they have these simple rules of choose your attitude, play every day, make someone's day, and have fun. But it's all about just going through. You're having fun. It's all about like living the life that you want to live, and then everyone wants to join in and play.
The big thing for me as well too is staying away from negativity. And it's funny because you see people put up posts about, I'm going to stay away from negativity, and sometimes you can hurt people with your words unintentionally as well too, which apologise to people that I've done that too. I don't mean to. Sometimes it's normally when you're passionate about a subject or something and you accidentally trample over the top of somebody else. But in terms of staying away from negativity. I mean, again, we've spoken about the water. We've spoken about, like the water that they froze and the water that they spoke nice things to and the water that they spoke bad things to. And I know we've spoken about the rice as well too. And the water that was spoken nasty things to and had horrible fractured, unperfectly formed crystals, whereas the water that was spoken nice to when frozen had absolutely beautiful crystals. Again, Google that and you'll be surprised. But
do it yourself.
So many people are so upset, and I think they covet other people's success or their idea of what they're successful. I think people would be surprised that they look at their own life and they become angry. How can these people do?
I reckon that's what I'm saying. It's I reckon it's other people's imagination. I know the Think Grow Rich is all about your imagination creating things, but I just believe other people's imaginations that don't know the truth behind the scenes is actually more powerful because they believe you to be this thing and they create that. But if you get enough of them imagining
But if you spend that much time, I mean, you look at some people and you see it as well too. I really see social media. I just don't get involved in it because I find most of the time it's either self-indulgent or it's negative. It's nice to see some of the nice stuff come through and I wish we had more of that. But unfortunately, as the human brain is conditioned, we see that one negative comment out of 10 and we fixate on that because that's the way that we are wired to say survive. I think to survive, we've said that before. The human body is conditioned to see danger and negatives as a way to actually improve our survival. It's just the way we are. But the thing is though is that imagine if those people spent that time, instead of attacking somebody else or being critical, actually spent that time into doing their own thing to help people, but they don't. They just want to tear down. And I just don't have time for those.
You can find solutions to problems, or you can just spend your time highlighting the problem.
Most people are just a problem. They don't, and if you have a look, they don't create much.
They find a problem to every solution.
Well, even if that's exactly right. And even if they were creating something, I guarantee you they could be so much more successful if they actually focus on the positive.
But this is the other thing too. The thing that has blown my mind the whole way through. I'm a bit of an emotional person. I get a bit anxious and things. I don't like doing the wrong thing, and I like to sleep well at night and that sort of stuff. All the crooks that have come through and tried to screw us over the years, they worked really hard. It's just it spun me out. They actually worked hard, but they were the nature of the beast was just crook. And the problem is with it is if they just worked the same length of hard or less. If they just did the right thing, they could actually be successful. It's just the nature of the beast. They just insist on self-sabotage, and that's where I talk about that Rocky mentality. Where you think you're a bum, you're going to be a bum. If you think that other people's success is dependent on your failure and vice versa, the more failure you have, the more successful other people have. These people have their brains just a bit wired wrong, in the sense that if you commit that same amount of time to doing the right thing, you get leverage out of it, you get scalability, you get a future, you get to work towards something positive.
You look at all the self-help books, and you can mention any of them that you want to, and Zig Ziglar's and, Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was fantastic. He says you got stinking thinking, you need to check up from the neck up, like these sorts of things. You look at all of them, they all have one mantra, normally, which is focus on the positives, focus on your own game. Like it's not...
and time's going to pass anyway. You may as well utilise some of that time towards a positive outcome.
But you show me any of those books where it goes, hate on your opposition.
Hustle, grind, dominate. Did they hustle, grind, dominate ones?
We're going to destroy the industry.
Oh, really? There's books like that around. See, I'm reading them.
No,
that's what we're wondering.
Most of them are about self-focus. It's being self-aware and actually doing something positive, as opposed to, take that person out. You'll become successful if you take this person out. It's like, that doesn't actually work.
We had some horrible things written about our college when we started to grow, and I thought, why? I was naive to this. I thought all we're doing is teaching. Why is this college digging on us, and why is this college having a go at us? We're not doing anything wrong.
Because you were impacting
we just started to grow, but it was so negative. And I had to contact someone because I thought, no, that's an error you've made. You're talking about, and that's wrong. And they just went, oh, tough. And I went, but it's wrong. And they, oh, tough. And it's like I just couldn't understand the thinking. It was weird. It was weird. It was what's going on?
As the old saying goes, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. With the internet now, it gets around the world 3 times. But, again, haters are going to hate, as the old saying goes.
And potatoes are going to potato.
And I stay clear of them. Not potatoes.
So who's your heroes?
Who's my heroes?
Who would you...
Zig Ziglar.
Zig Ziglar?
Zig Ziglar, number 1. He's unbelievable. Jim Rohn, like a lot of the old guys. Napoleon Hill, I mean, the works that he did way back when are just absolutely unbelievable.
But you, Steve-O?
I don't have any business heroes. I don't think it's more the heroes that the Jeff Blands and that inspire you to be better. He's amazing. He's just still a genius alive. In the area. Yeah, he is. Of course he is. Yeah,
no, so I said he is still alive. I said he was amazing.
But these are the geniuses that have grown their knowledge to a point that they can convey it and be able to get the message across to affect a lot of people. They're sort of my heroes. Yes, I ran a successful business. It was good, but I sort of fumbled my way through that. I was never didn't read the books and I didn't do the homework like that. But those people inspired me, the people to get the education out there. So make informed choices and keep away from foods that harm them.
And the funny thing is, I'll add someone else to that list as well too, which is probably the Bible. And I know that sounds very controversial in today's age where science matters and religion is death. But if you actually look at, prefer other people above yourself, do unto others as you do unto yourself. And this is what, well, exactly, at the end of the day, and a lot of those business practices is that, I've come to serve, not to be served. Like that's what tempers a lot of my mindset. And I appreciate whether you're black, white, brindle, whether you're atheist, Steve, as you are, or agnostic or Muslim, that doesn't matter to me. People are people. People are inherently should be loved, and you should take care of people. I know that sounds very wishy-washy and very ethereal and feely, but
Jesus wasn't a Christian and Buddha wasn't a Buddhist.
There you go. So but in terms of mind thinking, and as I said, I'm certainly far from perfect. I've got some big failings, especially to anyone who's listened to this podcast. In terms of what I say, but and having said that, that's the basic methodology in terms of the way that I live.
Yeah, the great
educators. Which is what you say, Matt. First do no harm.
So mine would be Leonardo da Vinci because of the overall balance. Yes. That whole holistic. I've never known anything or anyone to be more holistically round and conceptually, in my opinion, perfect to strive for. Edward de Bono, just because he just made me think differently. He actually taught me a different way of thinking through his books, just to critique things and gather all the data before making any sort of assumption, taking the emotion out. He taught me parallel thinking versus arguing, and I thought that was really handy. And actually, Wally Lewis. I know it sounds stupid.
Wally Lewis.
A lot of Americans won't even know who he is, of course. But there's this rugby league sport in Australia. Wally Lewis was the captain of a state team. But he used to fight for his team no matter what. So the big thing with Wally, doesn't matter. He would fight for his team and he would stand up and he would do whatever it took to do the right thing for his team. And he wasn't the best. This is what I love about Wally. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the biggest kicker, the best passer. He wasn't the best at anything, but he was the best player we've ever seen, and by far the best captain we've ever seen. And he was bigger than the game. And he did it by being himself, and the game changed when he was there. And that, I reckon that's pretty...
He was a leader's leader. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, and then to find in hindsight that he was suffering his own health issues and that sort of stuff at the time while still standing up in front of the team and not... Half the time he's probably glaring at the referee with big eyeballs at the referee. He's probably having a petit mal seizure or something.
He was epileptic, so...
And the funny thing is that actually even the title of Think and Grow Rich, just the thought of... change your thinking to change your current. That for me, and I know that sounds really weird, but just the title alone, just think. Most people don't think. They don't. They just act. Go through the motions.
And I know you and I like Voltaire. With his...
I love his saying. Steve-O, say the saying.
Well, I'm going to misquote it, but it's basically, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death to allow you to say it.
To defend your right to say it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Free speech stuff, which I love. And that's what... And if you say something wrong, you can get criticised, but take the emotion out of it and argue the issues, don't play the man or the woman.
That is the big thing, I think, today as well, too, especially. There's too much playing in vilification of the person, which is an extremely effective argument. If you can vilify someone, but you know why? Because you stir up emotion in that other person who then feels that, and there's lots of fake news and other things like that. There's a guy in the States at the moment that's being vilified over a look that he had from a camera. He's just sued the Washington Post for $250 million. I don't even know the whole story. I'm just looking at it. But I understand that the concept is that things can be blown out of proportion, but the best way to motivate someone, the best way to get someone on your side is to stir up emotion and to go, that's the bad guy. If you're the one, come with me. We need to do something about this.
But if you're the guy that's there trying to talk science without claiming to know everything, and you're the person just trying to talk for the purpose of trying to help someone, and then someone starts attacking you personally, that's when you know you've probably won the argument.
You've won.
There's a fair chance to go, okay, well, we're not talking like proper anymore.
It's called an ad hominem attack.
Yeah. So that's a good time just to actually stop and go, okay, now I get it. Now, thanks, I win. I'll take that.
Yeah. And the straw man argument's also a really good one. It's a little bit higher up, but a little bit more, so set up a false premise and then actually work to destroy that. So you set up a false narrative. Matt Legg said blah, 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 and I can prove that that's wrong. And blah. You take something out of context and then you just, So the straw man argument, again, very smart, but very devious.
Oh, a good one. I got attacked. I quit Facebook ages ago, but I got attacked once, exactly what you're saying, where they said Alpha Mars cannot build muscle. So we make Alpha Mars to boost testosterone, and they've basically made the jump that testosterone is used to build muscle. Therefore, there's no natural test boosters that will work to build muscle, and try to prove that. And so that's not even the statement, but yeah.
Well, collagen doesn't have enough leucine, so that can't build muscle.
Yeah, but this is the problem with science.
Can't impact mTOR at all.
Yeah.
But it does.
It does.
Through a different mechanism.
Through peptides.
Well, based on the leucine thing, growth hormone, testosterone, they have no effect on muscle either. They haven't got leucine in it.
No.
Anyway.
So it's typical. Yeah.
So you know what? I think we've spoken enough today.
Shitload.
And look, there's plenty of editing in this as well too. But having said that, look, again, we can maybe have some other abstract conversations like this, Matt, about the past and about stories that we've gone through, and
But at the end of the day, seriously, 2010, like it's 2019 now.
I know.
2010 when we started, it just feels like a lifetime ago and 6 months ago at the same time. There are some things that are so fresh and so raw from those times that are still there now, and there's other things that happened last week that feel like they were years ago. It's been such a hectic, crazy ride. I'm also conscious that there's a lot of customers out there that might be 18, 19, 20, and that sort of stuff that might think we're like been around for a long time in regards to them.
Because we're so old.
Look at us as debt
I'm so old.
And that sort of stuff. But it's an interesting story for people to understand that it's just... it's a group. I've described ATP as a group of mates having a crack, and the funny thing is that it's just developed from there. We just genuinely a group of mates that want, like you're saying, half of the time initially we wanted to make products for ourselves and our family and our friends, and initially some of those batches were like, well, if everything else fails, we got some products for ourselves, Then that led into that education stuff. It's like it's full on, but it's a really beautiful story in the sense that it's first do no harm, and we've tried so hard to be good and do the right thing. I think that's why we attracted so many evil people from the other end. Every action has equal opposite reaction. So for we tried to change the world this way, we get the attacks to bring us back the other way. So I think we can take that as a pat on the back that we're trying to do the right thing, and we didn't take the easy way out. We battled hard and kept following our morals, and we'll continue to do that. And the good news is moving forward, hopefully a lot of that crap's behind us. We can now just use that to springboard forward, like with all of our new science and all of our new opportunities and that sort of stuff. And now the contacts we've made, now we've sorted through a lot of the dodgy people. Now we're working some really, really great people at a really high end within all aspects of science.
It's cool.
It's a bloody exciting time.
With regards to the stuff that's happened, and
I still think the best products are yet to come.
So do I.
I'm just saying.
And there's a lot of heartache, and there's a lot of stuff that you could look at, and it could really affect you if you allow it to. But that stuff's in the past.
Yeah.
Leave it there.
Yeah, but the delayed gratification. We could be not hiring things, we could be not expanding, we could be just continue to and try to improve profit margins, taking more and more out of the company, but everything we just put straight back in. Everything goes back in to get bigger and better, or to invent a new thing, or discover a new thing, or it's crazy how much money we actually invest into the science and the research and development and the future of this company that people don't ever see, because it's all tied up with confidentiality and the science, the way they want science to proceed.
Well, the nice thing is, man, and again with the patents that we're doing now as well too, we are doing a lot more clinical and university trials this year, which is going to be exciting. And some of the stuff that you're working on in terms of
but it takes
the brain.
a while. Like a lot of the stuff that we've been running over the last couple of years was yet to come out because it just takes that length of time to actually do the trials, collect the data.
And I've got to say as well too, I apologise because I commercialise way faster than what a lot of these processes happen.
Yeah, well, we understand.
So because we've got at the end of the day, we've got to get the products out.
And we do the safety data. We make sure because we run through. That's why we have those ethics. That's why results are excuses and first do no harm.
Yeah.
First thing we do is make sure that we're not doing any harm at all. It makes our decision process so much easier going back to those two simple rules. We make sure we don't mess things up. We make sure we know what's in the product. We make sure we understand the risks associated with it. We also understand the synergies and the results. We do our other trials to show that it's effective and efficacy, and then we go through and further develop. The problem that we always have is we're stuck in that food complementary medicine loophole. When you use something natural that works like a drug, everyone wants you to make a drug out of it. And then you get kind of stuck, or FDAs and that sort of stuff.
And then we can't sell it.
Yeah,
it's a drug now. It's not OTC, or if it's going to be through TGA, it's through a strict list of ingredients that you can put in, which we don't want to use. Then
you go do a trial proving something, and then in the middle of that, someone changes the definition of obesity to a disease. All of a sudden, we've done a trial on obese people that can't be published because you've made a disease claim, and then you've made a drug. So it's like a big future ahead. It's exciting times. I'm genuine. I've never been more excited about the future of the industry, actually, because you can see it's working. We changed the industry to a certain degree with all of this. So many other people competing now into this same space within the space. Well, that was our goal. We wanted to be the most respected company, not the richest, and we wanted to change the industry. I just hope they're not just using the same contract manufacturers that we did.
You know that.
And I hope I hope they're doing something in regards to monitoring what raw materials are going in, and that their stuff matches the label, because the label's a great story. So that's where we change the industry, and we just want to change the industry from the behind the scenes as well. Yeah. Is that nice?
It's lovely.
I'll stop waffling now.
All right. Well,
200.
Thanks, guys.
200.
Thanks again. Thanks, Jeff.
Guys.
See ya.
See you later.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, mate. Can we do another pop?
You can do it.
No, did you see how much smoke coming out of that? I'm just genuinely worried that it might set off a smoke alarm.
Now you've killed the fun.
In the factory.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah, I suppose.
You can go back to your desk and pop off there.
Yeah, I'll go pop off there.
Or why don't we all just sneak into John's room when he's not watching and just blast the bastard?